Hi, my name is Madeline Cook, and this is my discussion board for Module 1. So getting right into it, looking at the connections between the North Carolina Social Studies database and the North Carolina unpacking documents, I chose to kind of closely follow along with fifth grade and fifth grade standards, just because that was a area that I like to teach and was just more interested about what kind of things they're learning and what their standards were. So one thing that stuck out to me that was really pretty much mirrored exactly the same in both of those documents were kind of the people, places, and the culture that was listed under each standard and each focus. They both kind of focused on, like holidays and even traditional stories and cultural practices. So the North Carolina Social Studies database and the North Carolina unpacking document, both those frameworks kind of encourage students to make those real world connections and just develop critical thinking skills really about just how societies function and just how like community roles and that kind of thing was both heavily talked about in both those documents. So one thing that I thought was surprising for that content level, especially for fifth grade, like I knew they were going to be talking about, civic responsibilities and that kind of thing, but I didn't really realize the depth of it all. For example, the unpacking document actually kind of went beyond the local community and kind of like even just town responsibilities and talked a lot about actually like state and national lawmaking process. Things like, I think there was like elections in there and civic responsibilities, like voting, and I even saw one standard that talked about like environmental protection. So it was just really interesting to see how early students are introduced to these larger scale societal issues and just kind of get that exposure, but at the fifth grade level. So I thought that was really cool and a good way to kind of incorporate those standards at a young age. And then for the last question, and an idea for an engaging and content-rich kind of like social studies lesson or activity, I kind of came up with kind of like a responsibilities fair where it would be kind of like a community role for the day. I thought it would be kind of cool if like each student in a classroom could be assigned maybe like a community lead role for the day, either like a firefighter, a judge, farmer, city council, just kind of things that like you could play town for the day and kind of maybe create like presentations or booths or just like hands-on like dioramas and that kind of thing to represent that role and what that person contributes to the community, and just kind of like students could maybe include examples of like rights and civic actions that those like people in a community relate to, and just kind of highlight how those roles kind of have to work all together to keep up, a town and a community, and kind of discuss like even like housing and holidays and just kind of the compare and contrast of those different civic roles. I think that would just be a fun way to get the classroom involved and just working as a real community and talking together. So yeah, that was my Module 1 discussion board.